Other buildings house trendy yoga studios, fashionable art galleries, and funky coffee shops. Old Town is the perfect place to pick up refreshments, sit in the sun, and enjoy buskers or street performers plying their trade.
We're passing along Government Street, the city's original main thoroughfare. Throngs of settlers used to take care of business here, buying and selling wares or building up a nest egg at the bank.
In less than 200 years, this spot on Vancouver Island has evolved from the uncharted wilderness that people of the First Nations called home to a rustic British trading post, and on to the bustling city you see today. Victoria honors our past with pride. A four-story retail complex, Bay Center, fills a full city block in Old Town, with over 90 stores, restaurants, and specialty shops.
It's also a direct descendant of the Hudson's Bay Company, which built a fur trading post named Fort Victoria here in the 1800s. When explorers struck gold in the Fraser River Valley, tens of thousands of would-be millionaires streamed through Victoria to load up on supplies before racing off to the gold fields. Fort Victoria mushroomed into a flourishing...
You can't judge a book by its cover, or a building by its facade. Old Town looks quaint and charming, but a new city is emerging around us.
Thanks in part to British Columbia's Heritage Conservation Act, we don't just tear down old buildings when we need something new, we preserve their beauty and character, but we refurbish the interiors to bring them up to date. Everything old is new again.
In a few moments, we'll pass the arching gate of Market Square. Just inside, you'll find a spacious open-air courtyard surrounded by historic brick and beam buildings. Today, all the buildings have been beautifully restored to house a unique assortment of specialty stores.
Runs and a variety of unique restaurants. Specializes in independent fashion boutiques filled with one-of-a-kind creations. Check out the window displays for a look at our local designers' talents. You'll even find several shops with gorgeous clothing made of organic, ecologically friendly.
This stop, Old Town Victoria, Yates and Johnson Street shops, Market Square, and Chinatown.
Hop off here to admire the heritage buildings and shop to your heart's content. Or visit Canada's oldest surviving Chinatown. To get to Chinatown, walk straight up Government Street toward the magnificent red gates.
Through it in a few minutes. Legend has it that the hand-carved stone lions to either side will spring to life if they're ever needed.
Thousands of men from the Canton province in China came through Victoria in the mid to late 1800s. The gold rush of 1858 lured the first Chinese immigrants here. Later generations came to work in coal mines. Chinese laborers also played a major role in building the transcontinental line of the Canadian Pacific Railway, which united Canada from commercial establishments, including 2 opera stations. In its heyday, 15,000 Asians lived in Chinatown, almost as many residents as the European population in Victoria.
Victoria's Chinatown is now a National Historic Site and an enticing neighborhood to explore. Behind the ornamental brick facades facing the street, you'll find a maze of alleys, tiny courtyards, and mysterious, notorious opium parlors and gambling clubs. You may find it hard to believe, but a little more than 100 years ago, Victoria was the largest distributor of opium outside Asia.
It was a business like any other. It was certainly lucrative, but lawful competition kept the profits in check. Canada didn't ban the drug until 1908.
Yeah, but the cheapest priority. Right now I gotta stick with Hello. Dragon Alley.
Keep your eyes peeled and your cameras out. On the right, behind the red lamppost, you'll see Fan Tan Alley. This crowded byway is North America's narrowest commercial street, measuring a little over 1 meter, or around 4 feet wide at either end. If you saw the movie Bird on a Wire starring Mel Gibson and Goldie Hawn, the motorcycle chase was filmed right here in Fan Tan Alley.
The alley got its name from a Chinese gambling game called Fan Tan. Fan Tan Alley and others like it once sheltered opium and gambling dens from Jews. Opium may have been legal at the turn of the century, but gambling was absolutely not. Even so, many alley buildings had gambling dens tucked away on the upper floors. Whenever the police appeared, the gamblers vanished through trapdoors in the floor.
Fan Tan Alley is free of illegal activities today. Several businesses display gambling paraphernalia, along with other antiques and curiosities from turn-of-the-century Chinatown.
I think if Disneyland made a Chinatown, they'd be bigger than that. They have the little towns with the little.
The large red masonry building just ahead is Victoria City Hall. It's Western Canada's oldest standing municipal hall, in continuous service since 1878.
Victoria's passion for preserving historic buildings began right here at City Hall. It was slated for demolition in the 1980s, but the threat of losing this link to the past galvanized citizens to lobby against the plan. They won the day and saved this landmark, which became the city's first heritage building to be adapted to reuse. It's now part of the Centennial Square Civic Complex, which features an eclectic mix of architectural styles, old and new.
Just past it, you'll see our new City Hall. It stands adjacent to another blend of historic architecture and modern improvements, the McPherson Playhouse. Locals call it the MAC. It's one of many cultural venues in our city. We don't have to go to Vancouver to experience the thrill of live performance. Theater, opera, ballet, and live music.
Victoria's community design policies and heritage tax incentive program have won top honors from the Planning Institute of British Columbia and the International Downtown Association.
Cuando le entra la piadera. You can't even reach it anyways. Vas a estar así brincando y no lo alcanzas. First to San Francisco and he was pendejo de dieron rocks for fur. He got a rock. This is a shitty deal.
This stop, Bastion Square.
Historic Bastion Square is a lovely pedestrian market and the location of Victoria's old courthouse. You can also walk back to Chinatown from this stop.
Bastion Square, this stop.
There's a seaplane.
We're approaching Victoria's famous horseshoe-shaped Inner Harbor. This has been the main way in and out of the city ever since the Hudson's Bay Company set up shop here more than 150 years ago.
The Inner Harbor still teems with sailboats, kayaks, yachts, tugs, fishing boats, and even floatplanes. You might see the Victoria Clipper, a high-speed ferry that runs between Victoria and Seattle, or the Coho Ferry, which sails from Victoria to Port Angeles. Across the water, look for Victoria's domed Parliament buildings, a reminder that our city is the capital of British Columbia.
Lots of special events center around the Inner Harbor, including the annual Classic Boat Festival. On the weekends from May to September, the pickle boats or water taxis perform a water ballet that you really have to see to believe. Ask your Gray Line agent for information.
I don't know. Really nice.
Just a point of information, due to the rerouting of one of the next streets, we are not going to be making the stop or pickup at stop number 4, which is at the Coho Ferry, due to preparations for tomorrow's race.
Y es donde está todo, like the most of that, y luego ya lo demás está spread out. Es que Chinatown y todo lo que quiere ver la gente más bien.